Welcome to JPAD Tune In. In 45 seconds, can you say who you are and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Rachel Lynch. I'm based in the northeast of England. I own Northeast Cheer, which is a cheerleading program up here, and also the Urban Factory, which is our gym. I also am the CEO of a non-profit organisation, which is called the Community Network. We manage the Urban Factory. We have multiple other sites, and I have an online brand called Fierce Females. So I like to describe myself maybe as a creative entrepreneur.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. So you've got quite a lot going on then. Let's start off with cheerleading.
Yeah, sure.
How did you first get into that?
Well, I actually really got involved in cheerleading coaching through my dance teacher. So when I was younger, I danced, I did a dance degree. When I returned from university, my local dance school had a cheerleading class. It was pom dance, basically. It was disco dance with poms. And I took that over, and that started to grow and develop. And the girls in the class said they wanted to do real cheerleading. And bearing in mind, this was around 17 years ago. They said they wanted to do real cheerleading, and I didn't know what real cheerleading meant. So I found out, and I contacted a number of event producers at the time, which obviously there wasn't many. And a lovely lady called Pat took us under her wing. And from there, I did all my full cheerleading, gymnastics qualifications, and progressed from there, really. So my then dance teacher said, look, cheerleading isn't something that we really want in our school. So take it and run with it. And that I did. So that was, 17 years ago. I moved and I started the cheerleading program, which at the time was called South Tyneside Cheer. We worked out of local schools and also a gymnastics centre. I really made sure that I surrounded myself with the areas in the coaching program that I wasn't too sure of. So, I'm not a massive tumbling background, so I made sure I had the right tumble coaches in, and we just built and grew from there. So, yeah, that is how the cheerleading started, really.
Oh, wow. Like it has been, I'm guessing it's been quite a journey then.
Yeah, absolutely. So we originally started, like I say, South Tyneside Cheer. One team. We attended the UKCA at the time, and we really dominated that area for quite a while. I was judging, I was doing some training. I did a lot, and we were really doing well. Almost every year from 2007. We qualified for the Europeans, which was in all over, it was all style Europeans, and we qualified, and we had an amazing time. We really did. We travelled all over the place with our teams. But where we were at the time was in a position where we weren't able to grow much more because we couldn't get any more time at the gymnastics centre. We couldn't take any more athletes on. I didn't have the right coaching, so we really had to take a big stop at some point. And that is where I had this an amazing opportunity to go to Texas with Ali and Andrea from Legacy, and went over to Texas, immersed myself in the cheer athletic gym and experienced for about 10 days, really focused on the development of cheerleading from a business perspective. Asked every question that you could possibly imagine that you would ask if you had the best gym owners in the world in front of you, and decided at that point that I either needed to make this program a business and really progress with that and build my own gym, or I needed to put measures in place to make sure that it just ticked over. It was all or nothing really at that time, and I'm really glad that the CA experience allowed us to be inspired. And I said to Ali and Andrea at the time, my 5-year plan is to have my own gym, and I think I did it in 2 years.
Oh, wow.
We opened our own gym. So yeah, that was an experience in itself, building the gym. And
was it that point, like when you had the CA experience, was it that point that you realized like what motivated you to get your gym?
Yeah, absolutely. It was like, this is the vision that I have. I want to bring something to my area that isn't there at the minute, and that experience and that real en masse participation feel. So I knew from that moment I didn't want anything that was the same as anything. I wanted something different.
Yeah.
So, it was a challenge setting up my gym, but I knew what I was doing, and I knew I wanted to create a really, really unique space. So at the time of this all happening, my local community centre was closing down, and I got given the opportunity to take on that community centre, which is why I set up the Community Network, my non-profit organisation. And that community centre was growing and growing, and it was from that experience and the business acumen that I built from that I was then able to fund and raise funds and investment for the Urban Factory, which then became the Home and North East Cheer. And it was not easy, but it was made easier by the fact that I had a very business forward facing outlook on everything. I ran the program like a business, and it helped put everything in order to be able to get our own gym, get the investors on board, to be able to inspire other people with my vision. At the end of the day, I turned a 13,500 square foot empty factory, it was falling apart, into a huge training facility for cheerleading, gymnastics and parkour. And the parkour was a really, really important part of that. And that was, again, it was opportunistic. So it was a sport that had recently been granted governing body status through Sport England. And I knew that was on the emerge, and it was going to move and grow just like cheerleading had. And I contacted some local parkour coaches in our area, and they just said, look, I'm going to create this amazing facility. This is what I'm going to do. We're going to put cheerleading parkour inside, and it's going to become a real hub for alternative sports. Yeah. And it has. So when we opened the Urban Factory in 2018, we had around 50 cheerleaders. That was it. That's all we had. Did
you say 50?
50 cheerleaders, because we couldn't go any further where we were.
Yeah.
And we now have 340 cheerleading and gymnastic athletes at the Urban Factory.
Wow.
They don't all compete all-star, but we have 340. And then we have almost the same again, in fact more in parkour, and then the rest is all preschool and families and disability programs. So we now have over 1,000 people registered in our venue.
That's amazing, like to go from like 50 and then in the space of 3 years, including a pandemic in that as well.
Yeah. In fact, we increased our numbers while closed because of the marketing and the business that we did throughout that time. We continued the market and take people on our waiting list ready to reopen.
Yeah.
So to open the Urban Factory, I did, like I say, I got investment and funding. So we got £50,000 funding from Sport England. So that little old wives' tale that says that cheerleading doesn't get funded is not true, because we got a lot of money. But we also got £150,000 worth of investment from social investment, so that is repayable. But that allowed us to be able to grow. And with, like I said previously, we've got that funding because of the way that I'd always set up business previous to that. And I have always had a lot of success in getting funding. That's something that is, in fact, just this week, we found out that we're just getting a further large amount of money to renovate the upstairs of our building. So that was a mezzanine area, a cafe, and then a studio downstairs as well. So that's really cool.
Oh, that's amazing. That'd be wicked. Yeah. Like, so going back to like 2000, or going back to when you made the decision, right, I need to get the gym. Like, how was that for you? So like, if any other gyms that are watching this now that are currently in someone else's space, say, and they're looking to open their gym, like what went through your mind and how did you go about it?
So for me, it was, I'd hit the ceiling in my program. I couldn't take any more athletes in. We weren't grown. So we were losing athletes, potential athletes, because we couldn't take them in anymore.
Yeah.
And I also had a job at the time and working in schools, and it was just not it. I felt like, I know that this program can be so much bigger, but it can't be because of where we are, unless
You're restricted, aren't you, with
by other venues and things like that. And I just knew that I had the capacity to grow. I had the right team around us to grow. I had the right knowledge and skill set to be able to do it. So coming back from CA and looking at what was possible on a big scale allowed us to then start putting in the foundations to be able to move forward with that. And I think for anybody looking to open a gym, is it right for you? Why do you want the gym? Is it just to be a gym owner? Do you want to be a gym owner, or are you passionate about coaching? Because actually, when you then open the gym, your position of coach to gym owner is two very different roles. So I'm really fortunate in my gym that although I'm the gym owner, I'm not the gym manager. I actually have two full-time, well, I have multiple members of staff at the factory, but I in particular have two full-time members of staff. One is a head coach who deals with all the rec classes, and then the other is our centre manager, and she deals with all of the setup and everything like that, because my skill set isn't the day-to-day management of a gym. I created the gym not for me. I created this gym to create this amazing space for young people to train in. It wasn't about me being a gym owner or running a gym. It was about creating this space, this hub. So yeah, I would definitely say, look at why you're doing it, look at the local area, is the demand, and can you facilitate it, both financially and in terms of your time.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer to it. It is definitely, like, obviously we've had this time previously as a business owner and a gym owner that I'm guessing it was tough, but obviously you've overcome it, haven't you? And like, what did you do to basically see your gym through
during COVID?
Yeah.
So it was hard. It was really hard. And that first weekend that things closed down, we didn't know what support we were going to have. It was just, I look back now and I think, what just happened? Like, did that happen? I just emerged from that. But it was just absolute fight or flight. You just had to get on with it. There was no time or option to worry, panic, or stress. You just had to move. So we were in a really fortunate position at that point that we did have quite a lot of people. We had our cheerleading program, and then we had our rec classes at the Urban Factory. So straight away, we contacted our cheer parents and just said, in the first instance, we're going to move online for use. And all our cheer programs continued to train throughout the program. And then for the rec classes, because we had so many classes running at the Urban Factory, at any one time we had 4 classes running every hour, all the hours. It was quite unmanageable to be able to administrate multiple hours online at the same time. So we just created a timetable for our Urban Factory families, and were able to put a few limited classes on for them. But they have rallied round and been absolutely phenomenal, supporting us throughout that as well. And we couldn't have done that without the support of both the cheer families and we call them the tough families, the rec families in there. We couldn't have done it without them, because they were able to support us. And we were really, really fortunate that our investors were very, very supportive of that whole situation. And our landlord as well was really, really supportive and was able to help us out in the first lockdown and just be able to get ourselves back on feet. I mean, anything that was paused, rent was paused, repayments were paused, everything has to be paid back, but it just allows a little bit of breathing space to get ourselves back on, to be able to move forward. But it was hard, because I have, so across my whole business, I have over 30 members of staff, of which half of them are full-time. I have a lot of outgoings as a business. I have a lot of responsibility because I've got the 2 sites. But the Urban Factory alone, I've got my full-time members of staff, and people rely on me for their take-home wage. This isn't part-time money for some people, it's their family income. So it was stressful, but we just had to get on with it, which many teams have had to do. Many teams have had to do.
Yeah.
But it was a bit of a hairy moment when everyone was getting these grants, because our venue was so big and we weren't actually eligible for anything at first.
Suppose like your rateable value was too high. Oh man.
£500 too high.
No. So little as well. It's oh man.
I know. However, we were able, the local authority were absolutely fantastic. We were able to manage through that, and have been supported. But again, for that period of time, knowing that your building is £500 higher in value than you're going to get anything, and you don't know what else was going to come. So
That's it. Like you had all that, and then obviously, like you said a minute ago, you had the responsibility of 13 members of staff. Like,
yeah,
it is a tough one. Like, what did you? Obviously, that must have been a lot of stress for you, because obviously the buck stops at you. What made you get through that? Because obviously you have the support from all your athletes or the parents, everything like that, but then you still take that home with you, don't you?
Yeah, I do actually. So this is quite a simple one. I have a business mentor. I have two. So I have two business mentors. I'm part of the business mastermind, that has experts from loads of different industries in. Nobody in my industry is in there. And then I have a one-to-one business coach as well. So one is about sharing the experience with other business owners and getting that support on a big scale. And then the other is about, like, okay, what's going on in the business, what is critical to you at the minute, and then being able to sort that out. So I invest heavily in my personal development. I always have done. So for example, even just going to CA, and looking at how other gyms run, to having a business mentor, to being in the mastermind. For me, if you run a business and are responsible for that many people's jobs and livelihoods, the least that you owe them is to continue with your professional development and make sure that you are continuously improving yourself. So I do invest heavily in that. And that was a real support network for me to be able to, one, speak with other non-gym owners. The gym community, the cheer community was amazing, and we were able to really support each other, but to be able to reach out to other industries and see what they were doing, and looking at how they were tackling everything, that was a huge help. So yes, absolutely.
I completely agree with that. And like the personal development, I'm a true believer in it.
Yeah, massive.
And like I was the same, because obviously we got hit very hard. We weren't allowed to do anything either. But I was part of like a networking group. I was on a mastermind, and it was great to have that support. And then obviously I met a mutual friend. And it is
it is absolutely crucial that you have somebody to support you in your business, that will ask the right questions to help you progress forward. So yeah, that is literally what really got me through it. Having an amazing team myself, so having regular team meetings with everybody and checking in on everybody and making sure that we knew where we still needed to go and what we're still working on. Having fantastic parents and a really good foundation set up there. You know, if our customer service wasn't great, if our family relationships weren't great, that would have been the time we were really tested. I think even at the time that we closed, although we're at 1,000 now, I think we're still around the 700-800, and there was very, very little fallout from anything.
Yeah.
So and then having, a family, being able to speak to them. Sometimes our biggest problems come because we don't share them. Our biggest problems and frustrations come because we haven't spoken to people about them. So sitting down with my family, explaining to them, this is what's going on at the minute, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I've got to deal with. But then having that business mastermind of people that can really give you some strategic support, that's critical.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. So obviously that was then. Like, moving forward, like, what have you got planned? Because obviously, as a creative entrepreneur,
I've just made that name up. I think it sounds great though.
I think it's wicked. I think you should put it on like your email signature and everything.
Well, it's when people say to you, "What do you do?" and I'm like, "How long have you got?" And I'll tell you. Yeah, creative entrepreneur. I like that one.
But like, obviously, we're coming out of it now, and we're more worried about obviously getting fuel after the news this morning. But like, what what are you guys going to be up to like over the next coming season or?
Yeah, so we always have a plan. We've always got like our next couple of years in order. We know what we're doing. We know where we want our athletes to be. We don't kind of just get at the start of every season and say like what's happening next. So we build everything into the plan, long-term athlete development plans for all of our athletes. Everyone knows where they're going. Whole company has the same. We have a 5-year plan. We know where we're going. And this is the biggest struggle that I had during COVID, actually, the whole lockdown situation. As somebody that's highly creative, I found it really hard to be in that survival mode for so long. You know, this at first it was like, no, maybe it'll be a month or two, but it went on and on and on. And when you're creative and you're not able to do the things that you're very, very good at, it does get frustrating. And I think it hit us harder this summer than it did last year as we were starting to come out of things, and I was starting to kind of rewire my brain into where I needed to go. So we've just had our second summit bid, so we're taking our third team. First time we got a bid, we got 2 teams, so we're taking a second team back to the summit next year. So that's one goal for us this year. We've moved up all of our teams a level this year to really push and challenge them, and to give them a different experience and a different goal for them coming out of COVID. We're just getting the funding, obviously, to convert our upstairs area, and then just continuing to grow. I've just advertised for another full-time member of staff at the Urban Factory to join within the cheer and gym. We're taking on a couple of apprentices as well. So
that's amazing.
All of that, and then just continuing to grow the program, grow the brand, educate people around educating themselves. That's critical. And we will see. It's a busy year.
Watch this space.
It's a busy time, but you know, we're back to thriving, and we're back to looking at what else we can do and the impact that we can have in the area. And it is very much for us about the impact in the local area. There just isn't. And also building relationships with teams in the North East. So we do actually have quite good relationships with the teams. All the university cheer teams come and train at our venue. Just being able to communicate with them, local teams, bringing them into the venue if they need to use the space. You know, just
but like
ourselves for the local area.
And I keep seeing it, and you just keep like dodging it. It's like, wait, I thought you were giving us a little routine and what's to come. No, but like I was touching on what you started with there. Like looking at, obviously you look at your gym as a business, and then you just said about like you've got what's going to happen like over the next 5 years. As like, I don't know how many gyms look at it and just look at the next month or how many athletes are going to come. Do you feel it is very important to have those goals and the strategy in place way ahead of time?
Absolutely. You know, how can you get anywhere if you don't actually know where you're going? So with everything, and we are a non-profit organization, and this is critical. So everything's critical. This is critical. We are a non-profit organization that allows us to reinvest our funds back into the business. It allows us to apply for funding. All my staff and myself still get a wage. However, we run as a business, and at no point do we ever say, oh, we're a non-profit. You know, we run from a business first. That business sustainability has allowed us to build foundations that has allowed us to then grow and multiply. It's as simple as that. If you go into running your non-profit as a non-profit, i.e. with nothing left in the bank, then you're never ever going to be able to attract the investors that you have. That you know, that's for me. So within my business planning and my business strategy, we then have our big goals. So we might have our goals down the line for 5 years. We know what they are. The business, you know, our key members of staff know what we're planning. We might not yet know how we're going to get there, because what we're working on is our medium-term goals at the minute. So we always review, like, okay, what's coming up next? And we literally break everything down. So right now we'll be like looking on, okay, what is happening in the next year? What do we need? What are the targets that we need to set? So all of our key members of staff have KPIs, so key performance indicators. They know what their goals are. They know what they have to achieve, whether it be standards, capacity, whatever. And then they then break that down into quarterly targets, monthly targets, and weekly targets. So for us, yeah, it's absolutely critical. It's like how any large scale business would run. Why cheerleading and sport be any different? You want to be sustainable and be able to provide jobs for an income for yourself and jobs for other people. You've got to be able to run it as a business. And it doesn't matter whether it's, a large business like we have, or a small little club that you're running in the community centre. You still need to have yourself those goals, even if it's like, I want to increase my team next year. I want to have 2 teams next year. I want to, bring in a preschool program. I want to be able to have a part-time coach. I want to be able to have a social media manager. Whatever it is, you've got to be able to put that into the system, and then you've got to be able to map it out and understand, right, well, if I want to have, an assistant coach, if I want to be able to have a social media manager, whatever it is, what's the journey? What's the journey? What targets do I need to hit along the way? What does that look like in terms of income, expenditure, and everything like that? So we have full year profit and loss accounts, as everyone should, just, everything. And I think that's really how, for the size of it, we were able to really survive through COVID.
Yeah. Like that's like someone, I completely agree with you, and I believe in everything you just said. Like someone that I follow always says start with the end in mind.
Yeah.
And then build your journey up to it.
Yeah, and also start now, get perfect later. So many people, they're waiting and waiting and waiting. It's not the right time. It's, everything's not perfect. It's never going to be. It absolutely is never going to be. Sometimes you just got to take a punt and go for it. But absolutely having that big vision, sharing your vision with your team and your staff, so they know what it is that you're trying to achieve. We have sessions where we're focusing on the vision. We focus in on our values. So for example, our company values are all around the word family. So everything that we do in our business has to match the family values. Is it fun? Is it ambitious? Are we being mindful with it? Is it innovative? Are we creating lifelong learning opportunities? And our why is for yes, meaning we'll always try and have a positive outlook for it. So
I love that. That's wicked.
Yeah, and we created that with our team. So our team came together, a big staff training, like what is the core of the business, regardless of where you work in the business. Obviously, the Urban Factory and my cheerleading program is one bit, but my other community centre has a childcare, and we offer community opportunities. It hosts events for accessible groups, and it's an amazing facility. My online brand is exactly the same. We've got a schools sports coaching program, which works for 42 primary schools in our local area. Every part of the business has to work within the family values, and all of our staff know about the family values as well. And then every year we kind of have like every year we have our different our main focus of the year. So yeah.
I love that. So like obviously touching on the community network.
Yeah.
Like tell us a little bit about that. What do you do there then? You just touched on it a little bit then, but
yeah, so the community network is a community not-for-profit organisation of which I am the CEO. And underneath the community network, we have multiple brands that work with the local community. So rather than having separate businesses, we have the community network, which everybody works for. And then underneath it, we have multiple brands that work underneath that. So every brand has a manager. Every brand has its own Facebook profile, has its own identity, its own brand, and everything like that. And that allows us to be able to grow. But critically, every brand within the community network works for children and young people. So we started off with our community centre. In the community centre, we then have so that's our Mortimer Community Centre. Then inside the community centre, we have our childcare settings, so that's Bright Kids. Then we have our school sports network, which is our partnership with 42 schools in the local area. Then we'll have the Urban Factory. And then we have Cheerleading that sits under there now. It wasn't at the time, but it does now. So they're the brands of the business. And then we also then recently identified a gap in our provision for early years and preschool, much, much lower. we were kind of starting around 3. Obviously, our childcare starts 2, 3. So that we then created a new brand called My Little Sunshine that does have have somebody else in charge as well. That is specifically because we wanted to work with a very specific target area at both sites, and rather than creating two, rather than the urban factory trying to find these people and Mortimer trying to find people, we just created a new brand called My Little Sunshine that then had its own identity, somebody managing it, its own target audience, its own voice, and that then hosts sessions at both sites as well. And that has worked because then we have people coming in through My Little Sunshine, and then they're going into our childcare, or they're coming into the urban factory in some of our preschool classes, and it's just about continuously looking at how we can improve the business and the services. So yeah, I mean,
and I suppose it's going back to the family.
It's all family oriented. It's all about the children and young people and their families, and then how can we create that fun, for our staff. We want them to be in a fun environment. We want everything to be really ambitious. We want to be, reaching for the stars, but not only within the business, but for them children, making sure that them children have ambition within them, being mindful around the people that we're working with, the users, the service users, everything like that, making sure that we're always being innovative. We've got a very innovative business model, and how can we build and grow. So yeah, and so on. So that's kind of how we were built in that business. And like I say, we are unique, but it does prove that actually and many cheer teams have community impact companies, but it's about taking a step back. You don't just do cheer, cheerleading is your tool that you use to educate young people on physical and emotional mental health, and it's so important that you continue to use that tool to be able to create other opportunities for the local area for young people that might not want to just access cheerleading or anything else, can access it in different ways. And that's where then Fierce Females was born, which was my online brand, and that came from a passion of mine, wanting to work with young girls and promote confidence and empowerment within them, and realizing I can only impact the number of people that walk through my gym, me personally. So I created the online brand to be able to support and build young people en masse. And I actually coincidentally set that up February 2000, just before lockdown came. So when lockdown happened, it was like, oh, wow, I now have this, my whole target audience is at home. So that just grew. I mean, that grew to a lot.
A wildfire.
Oh my goodness. We had offsets for parents. I had female business owners contacting us to help support them on the business journey. It just went mental. So I had a little break of that in this summer because I needed to make sure that the foundations were still nice and tidy on my main business, as I like to call it. And then we'll just pick them back up Fierce Females in a couple of months. So and this month actually, when my new website. So yeah,
it's all go, isn't it?
It's all go. However, I think in the cheerleading industry, we're all like spinning loads of plates anyway. Like we're all spinning loads of plates. Sometimes we quite like it when a plate falls because we're like, oh yeah, I'll show how I can get that plate back up spinning, and we're all just walking around like we're in some kind of circus. But it's always busy all of the time. But if you've got a good plan in place, you've got a good team of staff, you know how to delegate well, you don't have to be busy. My business has lots of things going on, but I have 6 senior leaders in my business, 6 members of staff who come together to then manage the rest of my team. And it means that on a weekly basis, I still have the capacity to coach 12 hours a week.
Yeah.
And I still coach the teams that I can coach within the program. I have other coaches that coach as well. But then I'm in a position to grow Fierce Females, but I'm also in a position to support my team from a strategic point of view. So like I said earlier, I don't deal with the general email mailing box of the Urban Factory. I have a manager that does that allows me to then focus on the rest of the business. So yes, the business is big, the business is busy, but I've managed to get
but it's not just you doing it. It is
Yeah, and there is times that I have to be busy, periods of growth, periods of stress, you know, things like that. But on a weekly basis now, I've managed to really navigate a good balance. And it wasn't always like that though. But then I realized if actually I'm not looking after myself, I'm not advocating self-care to my family, I'm not advocating self-care to my team, my athletes. So then that shift of focus towards self-care, self-education, self-development, self-growth became really important to me, because then it helps me grow, but it also helps them grow, because if I'm improving, the business is improving, they're improving. So I guess there has to be a point when you're manic busy that you take a step back and say, actually, what is it that's serving us and what do I really need to do? Sometimes in our industry, we are so desperate to do everything and be that control freak that, you know, if you can't do everything. And actually, you've got to let go to grow. You have got to let go to grow. You can't be anything to anyone while you're trying to be everything to everyone. You can't. So I think learning, understanding your skill set, what you're good at, and getting in people that can do the other things in your business better than you.
Yeah. No, definitely. Completely agree with that. Like, so obviously it's very powerful, like the things you've just said. Like if anybody did listen to this and they were like, oh my God, I need to talk to her. Like how would they get in touch with you, or like where would they find you?
Yeah, the best way actually is just on Instagram, just my personal account or Northeast Cheers Instagram account. Anyone can drop us a message. I'm always there. But my Instagram, my personal Instagram is Rach_Lynch1. So yeah, then just get in contact with us and see what's going on. But I just think, yeah, hopefully, you know, somebody listens to it and they learn and they take something from it. I actually mentor and a few cheer coaches in the area on a one-to-one basis that are who are getting help from me and supporting me from a business perspective. And I recently helped a dance teacher as well, just open her space in our local area. So I absolutely,
that's
yeah, like I love helping. You know, well, I love helping businesses grow anyway, because it's a natural skill of mine. But yeah, anyone can get in touch.
That's wicked. And like, last question for you: if there was someone out there that they've been thinking about cheer,
Yeah,
or they've been thinking about getting involved in some kind of activity, what would you say to get them off the sofa, switch off the telly and get off the sofa? What would you say?
I would say, if it's specifically relating to cheerleading, that if you want to be part of something that will not only keep you fit and active, but will allow you to make the best of friends and will allow you to build confidence and be part of a team and a team setup, then cheerleading is absolutely the right sport for them. Like I said earlier, cheerleading is just a tool for all of the things that we coach. So we're not selling cheerleading to people, we're selling a whole lifestyle. So we are selling that you are building in young people confidence, empowerment, yet instilling teamwork, resilience, all of them things. So as a parent, I had a young person who was looking to get into a new sport. Cheerleading would be the thing that I'd be looking for, because it builds all them sense of skills that a lot of sports do, but cheerleading just has that unique element about it, I think.
Yeah, no, that I've definitely seen that across across the lockdowns and that, like everything that's pulled together, and it isn't just you're going to cheer on a mat. There is so much more to it. I completely agree.
Whole team, and it's a whole family, and
Yeah.
most teams are as well. You know, that's not unique to us. I think that's
Oh yeah, so many cheer teams think about it like that as well, which is lovely to see. I did say that was the last question, but I have got one more.
Fire away.
How did you react when cheerleading was made an Olympic sport?
I was absolutely delighted, but I felt like it was coming. I feel like the staff that have done the groundwork for that have been working in the background for so long, and I felt like it was a real sense of relief. And I think our governing bodies over here are working really, really hard. Joey and the team are just doing phenomenal work, and I just feel like it was testament to everybody who's started to get everything in order to make it happen. And hopefully parkour will join too, so I will have a venue with 2 Olympic sports in, and that would be amazing. It's brilliant. I think there's a long way still to go for it to really be an Olympic sport and not just as a recognised organisation, recognised sport. But it'll happen. It'll happen. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to create more growth for our sport.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, like it's going to just excel it massively. But I'm done with these games, but I'll hold on to